maybe the most important issue that we're dealing with right now is the censorship. And you talked about the intelligence agencies and the way they're colluding with social media, and it's really attacking that freedom of speech because
they're all for the freedom of speech if you agree with them.
Sure.
The speech isn't to protect the speech you like. It's inversely. The speech you don't like,
right.
It's the speech you hate. It's the speech you find most loathsome. You're either, and as Noam Chomsky said, you're either for all of it or for none of it. Act locally.
Right.
It really is your school board. It really is the board of supervisors.
Right.
It's the mayor. That's the thing. If you show up and you make your voice heard, it'll make an impact.
You can do it. Speak your mind, America. So, what's on your mind?
It was really around 2013. I went like, something's going on here. 2013 under the Obama administration, it felt like I said it at the time, we were sliding towards tyranny. That administration, particularly, that us against them mentality kind of started there. And then by the time the pandemic hit, I was like, oof, I see this is, they're not messing around.
I believe that all freedom comes with the ability, on the base of the freedom to transact. And I'm curious your take on Bitcoin. Are you a Bitcoiner?
So I would say, I used to say it's an...
Rob Schneider, we're here at Freedom Fest, and I know you took the time out of your day because I know freedom is important to you.
Yeah, I mean, what else is there, Mark?
Well, like you said, it beats the alternative.
Yeah, I just think of people who really experienced tyranny, like Yeoman, Yeoman Park from North Korea.
Yeah, Yeoman Parks.
She knows. I mean, she's experienced the complete, utter opposite of being able to express your own free will. And my friend Ilya Baskin from the former Soviet Union, he's a great actor. He was in Moscow on the Hudson with Robin Williams. He says, "What you're doing to your country, don't you know that's what we did in Soviet Union? That's what you're repeating. Why are you doing that?" So they know.
Yeah. So. You're writing a new book, which I love the title, You Can Do It.
Yeah, I just threw that in there.
You can do it.
I think people might know
Speak
that
Your
one.
Mind, America.
Yeah.
So the question I'd ask you, the book is coming out soon. It'll be out after this interview, but You Can Do It, Speak Your Mind, America. So what's on your mind?
Well, I didn't seek out to be at the Freedom Fest one day when I started in show business. I just wanted to make funny movies. But I feel that... it was really around 2013 I went like, something's going on here. And it was
2013?
2013 under the Obama administration. It felt like it felt like we were, I said it at the time, we were sliding towards tyranny.
Yeah.
And I think it is. And I think it's that administration particularly, that us against them mentality kind of started there. And, I mean, if anything showed that America was becoming a better, a more open, inclusive society, it certainly was electing the first black president.
Right.
And so instead of embracing that and pushing forward, I think they just exacerbated and created more conflict. And I think it was destructive. It's destructive, and it's unfortunately in a free society, you are susceptible to attack because of that freedom.
Yeah.
So I noticed that happening at that time.
Yeah.
And then it's slowly, with more and more, they always say it's for your safety, but and then by the time the pandemic hit, I was like, oof, I see this is they're not messing around.
Yeah. Yeah.
They do want to. You see the kind of democracy fatigue, which happened around the 2010s, and then it kind of turned into freedom fatigue, where people are like, I don't want to deal with it. I'm like, you guys, somebody else decide for me. And it's, freedom is messy. It's certainly, you have to balance out the anarchy of, complete freedom with no rules and everything's complete anarchy. And then you have absolute no freedom and everything's decided for you is abject tyranny. So there's a balance, but it's always been a balance in our society for personal, individual liberty, with rules put in place. So when I saw that getting chipped away, and I think that is a critical thing to step up and to speak up, to preserve this, because it is a rarity. It is a rare thing to have freedom of will and freedom to choose to do what you want and to speak your mind. It is in the majority of, if you look at the history of humanity, most human beings did not get to enjoy what we have seemingly taken for granted and letting, if not slip away, where it's degrading.
Yeah, it's like the fish doesn't know it's in water, kind of a thing, right? So
yeah, that's a good analogy.
Yeah, so of course Obama ran on a platform saying he was going to fundamentally transform America. So apparently...
We should have been worried about that, because I don't think we need fundamentally...
We didn't need to fundamentally transform the foundations of what America was on.
No, but luckily it can't... I mean, that administration and the one we're in now, I mean, I agree with Robert Kennedy Jr. I'm not like... It's alarming, but the system's pretty good. I mean, if you'll notice, even Obama, I mean, after Obama, and you have the Biden administration now, we don't know really who's running it, but it seems pretty obvious. I mean, people thought during the pandemic, you realize that conspiracy theories to fact was about 6 months to 6 hours.
Yeah.
So, we don't really know who's running things, but it certainly isn't that the stumbling, bumbling, brain-addled. I mean, Biden was a problem as a plagiarist and the liar of what his law degree, how many degrees he's had, but before his brain capacity was diminished. So, where are we at now? And I think that the courts are still can protect us. We have the judicial, we have the legislature, we have the executive, and since the Patriot Act, we really Congress has abdicated their legislative duties to write laws and given it to the president. So you're really talking about an emperor.
Right.
We really need to really discuss that's what has happened, and until Congress is happy to continue that, both the Democrats and Republicans,
right?
Because they don't want to have to make laws, because then they're just worried about getting reelected.
Right.
So if they make laws, then they can be called on it.
You voted for this. Yeah.
And so, but still the system is strong. You still have the Supreme Court. That's why it's important that they don't, and the Electoral College. We don't want a pure democracy, because then it becomes a tyranny of the majority. So this republic, it's important to keep this republic. And they really did build, those, executive, judicial, and legislative. I mean, it's a pretty darn good system that they came up with,
and it's worked tremendously well
for the most part. Yeah,
and not just abdicated their position as making laws and giving the president the executive powers, to your point, but also to the administrative state, the deep state, if you will, right? So then all the 3- and 4-letter agencies, the SEC, the FTC, et cetera.
They're able to make laws, but the Supreme Court just nullified that, which is
exactly.
I mean, James Lindsay, the intellectual, and
he's great.
I hope he's here this weekend. I had to call him so he could explain to me what's happening. He's just a comedian,
Yeah.
And but we do have a system that can rein in a certain amount of tyranny. It's attempted tyranny.
Yeah.
So I think what happens with the United States and our vulnerabilities for impinging on freedoms is that it really is the bureaucrats, and you can call it the deep state, or you can call it the agencies, or whatever. But we have an ever-expanding spy agency. One thing government, for sure, we know about government is that they don't want to shrink of their own volition.
Of course not.
They want to just expand, and they want to keep. And Congress wants to, they want to keep their jobs. So it is a potential for abuse. But the bureaucrats are the ones that stay. Even if, you'll notice that even if Trump gets in, and I'm voting for I want anybody but Biden. I think it's important to throw out administrations, to throw them out, to keep them. The best administrations are the ones that are flat-footed and not confident, so they don't try to do too much. Because whatever they try to do ends up being damaging, whether it's here domestically or abroad. And so, but you're really able to see who's running things at this point. And it really is, the bureaucracy stays. Even though if Trump gets in, and it looks like he's going to, if the election was tomorrow, they're trying to corner legislation in where he can't do anything about the funding, the continued funding to Ukraine, which they admitted is just taking money from taxpayers and dumping it into the military-industrial complex where Congress owns stock, individual congressmen. That has to stop. That is nothing. That is pure third world corruption.
Yeah. Was it the early 1800s? Frederick Bastiat wrote a book called The Law, and in that he called it legal plunder. Right. Mm-hmm. So legally, they plunder and steal through those means, through the lawfare.
That will have to be changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to do it, Mark.
Well,
you and your organization.
We're trying to get the word out. So back to speaking your mind, right? America speaking their mind. I'm just curious, we asked what's on your mind. It seems like to me, and there's so many big important issues, it's hard to say, but maybe the most important issue that we're dealing with right now is the censorship. And you talked about the intelligence agencies and the way they're colluding with social media, and it's really attacking that freedom of speech because, if you want to take down freedom, you take down freedom of speech. So
they're all for the freedom of speech if you agree with them.
Sure.
They're all fully, sure, you can say whatever you want, but if you don't.
Yeah.
And that's why freedom of speech is, I'm surprised that the encroachment of freedom of speech isn't a bigger issue for people. Because, and a basic understanding, when they took civics out of high schools, I was there at the time when they took it out. I think it was 1980. And it didn't seem like, they say they're dumbing down. I really think they are.
Yeah.
I think when you don't want to teach your citizenry how your government works.
You don't want them to be self-reliant.
Yeah. But back to your question again?
Just about censorship.
So when you have, the core of freedom of speech is to protect speech that you don't like.
Right.
And that needs to be stated. And unfortunately, I don't think there's a great understanding of it. The speech isn't to protect the speech you like. It's inversely the speech you don't like.
Right.
It's the speech you hate. It's the speech you find most loathsome. You're either, and as Noam Chomsky said, you're either for all of it or for none of it. And that's a crucial issue. And I think if you explain it to people, like Noam Chomsky explained it, Joseph Stalin and Goebbels, Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's minister of propaganda. They were all for freedom of speech if you agreed with them.
Right.
But that's not what freedom of speech is. You really need to protect the other side. And it is a slippery slope of once you start limiting what people can say, then you can really pull one over. And the collusion of the Biden administration with tech companies was something that is new. Because social media is relatively new. But that is a form of, that's another level of censorship. And it really is lying to the American people. And I think what happens is anytime a government or an institution gets too powerful, whether it's the security state, I think they can leave themselves open to being exposed.
Yeah.
And I think people now realize that there really is something to this.
Yeah.
Who is running our government?
Yeah. Well, you certainly know that now with Biden out. And I saw some of the, the mainstream media pundits are like, well, he has a really good team around him. And these people can make the decisions. But we didn't vote those people in. So they're kind of telling us that part out loud. But going back to the censorship piece, like I said, I think it's maybe the most important issue out of a lot of important ones. But I'm just curious from your standpoint, coming from Hollywood, being a comedian, right? You're sort of on the edge of what you can say and things.
Well, I think so. I think to just not come at it from a place of fear. You have to. You have to do a delicate dance. It's show business.
Yeah.
And I've just decided that I can't just sit back and see, a large swath of our society brushed aside and go, well, that freedom thing isn't important anymore.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to step up, and
you have.
It does cost you.
Yeah.
It's not inexpensive.
But you seem like you have been able to avoid cancellation. I mean, you're still making movies, right? I mean,
not as many, but yeah. I mean, it does come at a price. I mean, when Oprah Winfrey decided to support Obama, she knew that was going to cost her money in her pocketbook. It does when you step out and say you pick a side. It does. However, the side I'm picking is America. It's for both parties.
right.
I mean, both parties are imperfect, and we have a two-party system which doesn't seem to be serving the. The majority of Americans would prefer to not have a choice between Biden and Trump. They would prefer to have anything else.
Right.
But the system seems
Some young energy.
Well, the system's rigged
Yeah.
in that sense. I mean, Robert Kennedy's not allowed on the debate stage. It's like, if this was truly, it had some of the, if the media, you realize the media, and it's not like it's a new thing they've been controlled. I mean, I remember in the 90s, the media was controlled by basically 6 or 9 companies. I mean, now what is it, 4? So, I mean, you have the CIA has a backdoor to YouTube and Google. So we really are dealing with an actual attack on freedom of expression. And our political system seems like it is rigged to... and you could see somebody... Because I don't think Donald Trump, our former president Donald Trump, is that different than the establishment. But the fact that he questions some of it makes him this incredible outlier.
Right.
And a threat to the established order. And they hate that because they don't want the system to change at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, now we're talking about Bitcoin and the future of the financial system. I want to make sure you secure it properly. Millions of Bitcoin have been lost. Myself personally has lost a lot of Bitcoin, maybe worth millions of dollars in today's dollars. And so I've learned the hard way that I want to secure it with a hardware wallet like this. Keep your private key safe. This is a Trezor hardware wallet. You plug it in, you do your transaction, and you unplug it. Don't leave it on an exchange. I've lost it that way. Don't leave your Bitcoin on a phone. I've lost it that way as well. Secure it with a hardware wallet like Trezor. I've used it for over a decade. I think it's the easiest one to use. It's open source hardware, so you don't have to worry about some backdoor and someone rug pulling you and taking your Bitcoin. That's why I like the Trezor, and it's pretty cheap. And if you'd like to save even more money, there's a link in the description down below that you can save some money with it. But look, whether you use a Trezor or not, use something. Don't leave your Bitcoin on the exchange or at risk of getting hacked off of your phone. Secure with a hardware wallet like this Trezor. There's a link down below. Now let's go back into the video.
So you talked about, you're obviously speaking out at great cost to yourself, but hopefully to save America, to your point, right? And to maybe spark something to create some change.
I think so. I think it's. I don't think it's a great risk. I think people who put themselves on who went to Afghanistan certainly are more people who, landed in Normandy.
Yeah.
I think I'm just telling, just telling jokes.
Yeah.
But if I can encourage people, like it will collapse the system of this. They call it social justice, but that's just a Trojan horse term. What it really is it's just a weird power grab. And there are elements of this, not elements, but there's specific. It's specifically designed to undermine Western civilization. And what it really is it's just another. It's just redressed, reworded communism, and It is hopeless, and it is godless, and it won't succeed because it doesn't have the basis in things. So Christianity has a basis in love, tolerance, acceptance, forgiveness.
Good things.
Yeah, and the basis that they have it seems to be anger and revenge and separation.
Yeah.
And hate. And I don't think that that's something to build a religion on. and this kind of woke religion, I mean, it is a de facto religion because there's as my friend Professor Peter Boghossian says, there is a religious architecture in their thinking.
Yeah.
I think that pretty well describes it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the same underpinnings of like Christianity I think that's why those monasteries have lasted over 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Because they're a group together for a
And
purpose.
they built beauty.
And
today we see ugly.
Yeah.
Right.
We do. But there's still the potential for beauty.
Sure.
I hope it comes back.
Sure. So
It's expensive.
you're an actor,
Yes,
and
sir.
you're now in politics. I think for a lot of times I would see like actors like fill in the blank. I don't want to call anybody out. And it's like, how much are they really paying attention, right? Are they just like Leonardo DiCaprio? He's like, this science is settled. This is fact.
Anybody who says
science
science
isn't
is-
settled.
There's no science is never settled.
Right.
Science is all science is. I mean, it is a series of all sciences is simply a series of experiments to find a regularity.
Yeah.
There's no settling in that. You know, I mean, the irregularity could alter, could change.
It's meant to be disproven. It's a theory.
Well, it's certainly open for the potential to be disproven. So I think, though, I don't think like guys like Leonardo DiCaprio are. I don't think they're bad intentions. I don't think that I don't think he's a bad actor. Whether on the screen he's a great actor, but I also don't think he's a bad actor in his socially. But I think it's misinformed, and I think it's misguided, and I think the potential for human tragedy is gigantic. I mean, I would say that if you just look at what there's a great movie called Planet of the Humans, which is a documentary that Michael Moore put his name on. He's as liberal as you get.
Yeah.
And I really respect him for putting his name on that because it really debunks this the green energy myth, because it is a myth. It doesn't work. And if you want to throw America, or if you want to throw the world back into abject poverty and misery, then take away fossil fuels.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the green energy doesn't work. It just doesn't.
Yeah. What I wanted to ask about is we seemingly have a lot of musicians and politicians, entertainers that want to kind of throw their opinions out there, and a lot of them seem like they haven't done the work and they haven't done the research. And you apparently have. I mean, you know the dates, the names, et cetera. And I'm just curious. You mentioned Dr. James Lindsay before. He's great. Everyone should be checking him out.
He's the real intellectual. I'm a de facto intellect. Comedians are de facto intellectuals. There was a void that was created, Mark, and I didn't want to step into this field. It was just something that I would say obvious things, and then it was just like, because I had an opinion, it became, news, which is nuts. What happened was you had the real intellectuals, with professors and writers and other people philosophers, who were scared, and then they created this vacuum of an intellectual vacuum of ideas and opinions and discussion, because that's what you really need. You need discourse. And the discourse and debate has been replaced with denunciation and shouting down.
Yeah.
And that's the worst form of debate. So guys like me are here now.
Yeah.
You want James Lindsay here, Peter Boghossian here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's great. And one thing he talks about is that really, back to the two-party system, when you set a big goal, and that goal is too big, it's like, why even bother? So when we focus on the presidency and the two-party system, and and that's something that we can't really affect.
Mark,
and so
that is one of you bringing that up. I'm really happy to hear that, because I think that is a great distraction. I think the best way, Barbara Loe Fisher is one of the great people in the medical freedom movement, if not one of the key people. I mean, a century from now, people will talk about her. She's the one at the National Vaccine Information Center. She's the one who educated me about these medical freedom issues. I didn't even know what this was about 15 years ago. Along with, she educated me, and then Del Bigtree came along, and you really touched on something that's really important for your listeners and for people to tell your friends and your family, is to act locally.
Right.
It really is your school board. It really is the the board of supervisors.
Right.
It's the mayor. It's your state legislature. That's the thing. If you show up and you make your voice heard, it'll make an impact. I mean, that's why, like, another thing I'm not doing by choice is the Moms for Liberty, Tiffany Justice. These moms got together, and they're interesting how they got attacked by the media for just being moms trying to get pornography out of grammar schools.
Yeah, how dare they?
I mean, yeah, I mean, if you look at it, if you would make a movie about that, I go, nah, I can't be real. What are you talking about? But it's people like Tiffany Justice stepping up, and people putting themselves out there. People like Peter Boghossian, James Lindsay, professors, Brett Weinstein, Jordan Peterson. These are the leaders, the true intellectuals now, who just refuse to be cowed, and people are looking to them. They're looking to me, unfortunately, and if you can do anything, it's to get involved. But you're right, though, Mark, and I hope more people will talk about that. Get involved locally, because that has more impact. Because luckily in our republic, it is divided, and it's supposed to be. The federal government's not supposed to be involved in the states with health, specifically. And as we saw during the pandemic, there were some states that did better than others. And then, I think they were cowed by a media that was cowed and controlled by a gigantic, the real drug cartel. Forget about the Mexican cartels where you're going to be living. The real cartels are Pharma.
Sure.
They're legal cartels. I mean, it really is. I mean, that's why it's so, why would you want to be in government if you can control government? So why wouldn't you want to be in the shadows? And then, you pay. The pharmaceutical industry is the biggest donors of all to state Congress, not federal, like, your senators or your congressmen, but your state legislatures. I mean, it's remarkable. And you just throw enough money. I mean, you have like Pfizer, who paid $11 billion, the biggest fine in corporate history. It doesn't mean anything. Americans don't really have a sense of history. They don't go back and go, well, are you going to trust those same people? So I think I got off sidetrack. But what I'm saying is, you're right.
Act locally.
Act locally. Get involved. Show up at your city council.
Yeah. Because we can make an impact there. And
Absolutely.
it has the most impact on us.
And that'll be the most impactful for you, right?
Yeah.
For the citizens in your community.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
I mean, reminding me.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, what am I supposed to talk about today?
Because we can impact that. We can change that. And it has the most power over our life.
And it does, directly to yours. I mean, if you want to know what they're teaching in your schools, go to the school board meeting.
Yeah. We were talking about California in California. Those people like to call it California. And when they started talking about pandemic coming back again about a year ago.
Well, they love control. They love, I mean, Governor Newsom loves being on TV every day.
Yeah.
He's an ineffectual, intellectual lightweight. And all you have to do is watch him discuss anything with Adam Carolla. There's 5 minutes good. Where Adam takes him apart because because no one really asks him questions or follow-up questions. There's no follow-up questions in the media. There's no questions on the questions after the questions.
Right.
It's just, and so they just dance around it. And so finally somebody got, and it was 5 minutes, and it was just brutal for him. And it was also illuminating to like how vacuous that his thinking is.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunately that is the future leader of the Democratic Party. This vacuous airhead who's unapologetically tyrannical. I mean, and I think it's being exposed. I mean, you can just see they can clean up San Francisco in 24 hours if Xi Jinping is coming from China.
He admitted it.
Yeah, he did, but it doesn't cost him anything there. So what happens is I wouldn't say that the Democratic Party is intrinsically awful or evil. It's just when they have too much power, they feel like they have to do stuff. I mean, they were discussing taking the gas, to the speed limit down to 80, to literally to control the cars.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't if you wanted to. And it's like the government, get out of my kitchen.
Yeah.
Get out of my kid's school. Get out of my driveway.
Get out of my kitchen. When they're telling you what you can cook with, I think they've gotten a little too big.
I mean, what lube should I use? What?
Yeah.
I mean, at what point lunacy? And that's what comedy is good for that. And that when a society can openly mock the the laughable decisions of our leaders, I think that's when it'll start to collapse. People go, and I think we're at that point. I hope.
And good comedy works when there's some truth to it.
Well, I can't. I mean, silliness is king. Like John Cleese is my hero. Norm Macdonald, just wonderfully silly man. But I do think if there's, I will say it's easier these days to write jokes because it's practically a joke in themselves.
Yeah. They write themselves.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah.
Imagine. I do a bit now about having a son join the girls' track team, and the conversation I do, and people, they fall out laughing.
Yeah.
Because it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, we'll go wrap this up. I know you have a lot more stuff to go do.
Mark.
But
This
maybe
is my favorite interview so far.
you're on tour right now. Unfortunately,
Yeah, I'm
you're
on
not coming
tour.
anywhere near Southern California. Unfortunately,
Trying to avoid the taxes in California.
Yeah, you have a book
I
called-
love it though. California's great, and the audiences are great there.
the book's coming out as we talked about, so we'll make sure to get
I'll be
people a
in
link
California in 2025.
to that. Okay.
performing.
But maybe just closing thoughts, like you're out here trying to kind of spread the word at great cost to yourself.
My book comes out September 24th. You Can Do It. Speak Your Mind, America.
Yeah.
My closing thoughts. They can't ruin this country completely. They can do a lot of damage in the next 2 years because basically whoever wins, you get 2 years before you become a lame duck. So in that 2 years, if Biden gets back in, he'll do a lot of damage. He'll open up the borders again, and I want people to come into work. I want anyone who wants to come in here and work, and if you want to come in legally, do it. And I think we're going to peacefully change America again. But it's going to take people to step up. And I would just say it doesn't take 100% of the people. It doesn't take 50. I'm going to say it takes 15%. 5% right now we have, and 15%. 15% will affect change. Interestingly, about a third of the in the American Revolution, a third of the Americans were for it. A third were for the Brits. A third didn't want anything to do with it.
Right.
So roughly the same thing. About a third of Americans that didn't want anything to do with the vaccine.
Right.
So we already have a good base here.
Yeah. Final question.
Yes, Mark.
I believe that all freedom comes with the ability, on the base of the freedom to transact. And we're in the Bitcoin room. So Bitcoin gives us a technology that we can transact peer-to-peer.
Yeah, they don't like
without
government doesn't
using
like
government
that.
money. And I'm curious your take on Bitcoin. Are you a Bitcoiner? Do you believe in
Yes,
freedom money?
Bitcoin is an important element in the freedom movement. I'm not. I don't think it's not safe proof, but what is? You think I used to think like it's too risky, but then you realize what's happening with the American dollar. I mean, how can Bitcoin be more risky than a government that's just printing money, the quantitative easing that's happening and monthly? So I would say, like I used to say, it's an unsafe. I don't understand it. It's unsafe. I would say it's unsafe now to not own Bitcoin.
Perfect. We'll end it there.
Mark,
Thanks,
it's a
Rob.
pleasure.